Hello and welcome to another brand new Freelance Mum Class Assembly, new academic year. Hopefully your children are back at school and you're getting some sense of normality. It's so delightful to finally have some headspace again. I know I certainly felt it when the girls went back to school yesterday. So coming up on today's Class Assembly, I'm going to be sharing with you the podcast that Laura and I recorded earlier this week when we caught up with Sarah Townsend. Now she is absolutely fabulous. And she is the author behind Survival Skills for Freelancers. And you'll be hearing all of that interview in full very, very shortly. There's also an opportunity as well for a freelance mum to win a copy of the book at the Freelance Mum Nets Walk next Tuesday. So don't forget to join us for that as well. And not to mention, it's time to do our Freelance Mum Star of the Week before we play you out with our Freelance Mum Class Assembly. No, our Freelance Mum Anthem, having a look at what you've been up to over the summer with your gorgeous children and also showcasing some of the best bits of your business. But first of all, let's have a look and see if we can have a look at our Freelance Mum. Good morning to you, Ali. It's so lovely to have you here. I hope you've got lots of energy and vigour after having an amazing day. You've just been totally on fire. I can't wait to hear all the plans for your new business. If you're watching this morning, don't forget to say hello in the comments. It's really lovely to see you. So let's have a look then and have a look at our Freelance Mum Star of the Week. It's always joyful to be doing this. And our Freelance Mum, it's high tech meets low tech as we get out the battered gold envelope drawn with the beautiful 8-year-old's handwriting. Star of the Week. And the Star of the Week is dun, 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 dun. Have we got it? Here we go. It's Leslie Waldron. Congratulations to you, Leslie. We think you are just ace. We love you every single day in the mothership. I love the energy that you bring to the mothership, and I love all your autumn offerings at the moment. They're so joyful. They really are. And your photos just bring your brand to life. You've been saying that at the weekend, it was really lovely for you to spend time with your mum at her birthday. I know it was lots of family birthdays for you as well. And just enjoyed spending that time and having nutritious food in true Leslie Waldron style together. Plus, you were saying that if anyone wants to find and follow you, they could do so on Wild Country Woman Health Coach. Monday, you said you're looking forward to catching up with friends, which is just so important. And you were missing Pilates, so it was really good for you to be going back to Pilates again. Tuesday, in response to Anna with her Tuesday takeover question, definitely a well-being theme for our stars at the moment, saying it was really lovely to just talk about the things that you've been focusing on as a family and what you were looking forward to. It's funny, isn't it, how lockdowns really made us look down and drill down our offerings and our businesses, and that was part of Anna's focus question, which is great. Can't wait to see your focus question, Leslie, on Tuesday. Wednesday, when we asked if you're jumping or grumping and you joined us, you were saying that you're jumping every day. You always jump for joy, Leslie. And Thursday, when we asked about your gubbins, you were running a free mini course next week, and you've had lots and lots of people sign up for that as well. Plus, you had some happy play dates with your children, so huge congratulations to you. Let's see if I can share. There we go. There's a rather lovely certificate for you, Leslie. It says that you have successfully completed the mother of all juggling acts and hereby qualify as our Star of the Week. I'll pop that in the comments below so you can print it out, stick it to your fridge, because let's face it, I think that we all deserve an opportunity to have our certificates popped on the wall. Right then. So, Leslie, thank you very, very much for that. It's time now to go to our Freelance Mum podcast and catch up with myself and Laura when we caught up with Sarah Townsend. Now, she's the author, as I said, of Survival Guide for Freelancers. And it's just brilliant. I'm not going to tell you because you'll hear it in the interview very shortly. But what word do you think I used? If I could use one word to describe this book, what one word do you think it was? You'll find out very, very shortly. So let's see if we can share this with you and you can enjoy this week's podcast. Hello and welcome back to the very first Freelance Mum podcast of a brand new academic year with myself, Laura. Hello, hearty hello to Laura. Hello. And joined today by Sarah Townsend as well as our first guest for a brand new term. It's all exciting stuff. Well, I'm excited anyway. And Sarah's here to talk to us about her book, but also about her freelancing journey, tips for freelancers. I have the distinct advantage over Laura in that I have read the book, Survival Skills for Freelancers. I promise to lend it to you when I next meet the Lido. I will do my well-thumbed copy. And it's a great read. It's a really great read for people starting out on their freelancing journey. Sarah, first of all, welcome. Thank you today. You've been freelancing for, was it 20 years now? Is that right?
It's my 21st year as a freelancer, yeah, and as a mum. The two things are connected.
So they happen simultaneously. You told it, the story. One of the things that I loved about the book, and I want to throw in at this point, that at the weekend I had a child feed 24 hours. And in that 24 hours, I actually chose to read your book.
Oh,
so
wow.
I would take that as a compliment, actually, that in 24 hours, child feed, I read your book. And one of the things I loved about it was that I felt like it was just a friend, a lovely friend, chatting away to me, sharing some anecdotes. And I was thinking, if I could sum this book up in one word, what would it be? And I thought, lovely. Now, that does not sound terribly practical, but I think sometimes there are so many, Sky, your 6 figures this, do your business. So many quick words. Yeah. But this was just like having a buddy in your pocket, just really nicely saying, look, this is what happened to me. Here's some of my learnings. So tell me, after 21 years as freelancing, what was it that made you think, I'm going to put pen to paper? I do appreciate you're a copywriter. I'm actually going to share these learnings now.
Yeah, well, I think it was, I've had really, throughout the latter part of my career, I've had loads of people say to me, haven't you ever thought about writing a book? And I was always, no, absolutely not. Like, I spend day in, day out writing. That's what I do, and that's what I get paid for. So I had no intention of ever writing a book, but it was when my business turned 20 towards the end of last year, I thought, right, I'm gonna have to share some tips with people, the things that I've learned and the mistakes I've made and the things that I wouldn't do again, so that other people can avoid making the same mistakes as me, and hopefully so that they can shortcut their journey to become successful and to kind of get to the stage that I've got to now. So I wrote this blog post, similarly titled. It also had the subtitle, How to Go Solo Without Going Loco, which I loved. There's a reason that was dropped, and I can share that another time. But the response that I had to this blog post was just phenomenal, as people were responding saying, this is the most real thing I've read about the kind of messiness and the challenges of freelance life, as well as all the goodness. So I thought, maybe I'm onto something. And so many people said that they found just this short blog post helpful. I thought, I've had a really good run in the past 5 years, maybe. The first 10 to 12 years, I would say I didn't do freelancing very well at all. I was definitely floundering, definitely winging it, still winging it to a certain degree, aren't we all? And I just thought, if I can make this into something that other people can learn from my experiences, not make the same mistakes, and become more successful and have, and I'm not talking success in terms of the 6 figures, wads of cash on a Ferrari type scenario, but I'm talking about balance. So you feel like you can balance your life as a parent and do the things you love as well and get paid for it. So for me, success is all about balance and achieving that. So that's why I decided to do it.
Before we come on and ask you about some of the advice that you might share, I'm just curious to know, because you sort of hinted at it, tell us about your decision to be a freelancer.
It was kind of a decision that was taken out of my hands to a certain degree, as I think it is for a lot of people. And I always think that everybody has a very different journey leading into when they become freelance. It's not like anybody goes through childhood saying they want to be a freelancer when they grow up, after all. So I was working as an editor and an account manager for a magazine publishing company. We used to publish customer magazines for big brands, and I became pregnant with my daughter, who's now 21. Scary. And I broached the idea of going working part-time with my managing director, but because this was the late 90s, the idea of remote working, there was barely any internet back then. We literally had one computer in the whole of our studio in our agency that had the internet on. And yeah, just the idea of working remotely or working part-time just wasn't supported at all at the time. I do think things have come on a lot since then. Whether I would have made the same decision, I'd love to think so, because being freelance has been such an incredible experience for me. Challenging, but so incredible as a mum. And I've always loved the fact that when my kids were really little, I never missed a school play, I never missed a sports day. That was kind of my driver behind it. I knew I didn't have it in me to be a full-time mum, and kudos to anybody who does. I needed to have my career to focus on as well, so that I would then achieve that kind of balance of feeling satisfied in my career, but also satisfied that I had more to bring to my life as a mum. So my managing editor actually suggested that I went freelance and said that they would support me, at least initially, with some kind of ongoing work. And yeah, that was kind of the kick I needed to make the decision.
The interesting thing that I picked up on there, Sarah, is that you went freelance. That those two things were linked. You know, you had your children, you went freelance, and now your children are young adults.
Yes.
And you're freelance. So obviously you don't have the school plays and the pickups in the same way, but this is still very much a lifestyle that you have made work for. And one of the things that I liked that you picked, I think you said it in your book, and if not, we've had it, you've said it on email correspondence, was that you try not to work on a Friday. So you're trying to make sure that you're making that freelance. It's not the tail that wags the dog, I suppose. Making that around you. Is that a discipline that you've had to work hard at?
Oh God, yeah. I literally decided towards the end of last year, I turned 50, and I thought, right, I need to start kind of focusing more on my own well-being, and I kind of call them my well-being days now. And if I'm honest, sometimes I still get sucked into doing business-related things. I do a lot of kind of working on my business, a lot of book promo things, podcast interviews, Twitter chats, and that kind of thing quite often happen on Fridays. But generally speaking, I don't do client work on those days. They're like a me day. And that's really important, because the reason I wanted to focus on boundaries and balance so much in the book, and the need to prioritize your own mental health and your own well-being as a freelancer, is because those are things that I did really badly. I've struggled with mental health issues on and off, blips throughout my life. And I didn't want other people to kind of go through the overwhelm and the burnout that are so common when we feel like we've got to work all the hours to be a success.
Well, it makes me think about one of the things that you address in the book, which is about saying no, isn't it?
There's a whole chapter about that.
And rightly so, and it will chime with everyone who watches this. You know, are you saying no to the wrong job? Are you missing an opportunity? Should you have said yes? Could it have turned into something else? Will you ever be asked again? All of those kind of overwhelming questions that come in your head when you're trying to strike a balance, and knowing when to say no. I wonder what advice you might share on being stronger at saying no, maybe because the job doesn't pay you enough, actually, and it's not an opportunity you're after, it's money.
And there are so many reasons why you might need to say no, and I'm a very strong believer in fit. So kind of learning to say no and trusting your instinct, I believe, are very closely linked. So there are times, everybody's experienced this, right? There are times where you just get a nagging sensation that something isn't quite right. And if you tune into that, you think perhaps maybe, as you say, the client's not paying you enough, which equates to the fact that they're not valuing who you are and what you do as an individual. I personally don't like to work as a supplier. I like to be a partner with my clients. That's a kind of an ideal scenario to get to when you're on a level where you can actually advise them on what they need, which isn't always the same as what they think they need, but that's a bit of a tangent. So I guess learning to say no is kind of about putting yourself and your needs higher up the priority list. Then, you know, it's not all about what your client needs and you're there to kind of serve them with your service or whatever it is you do. It's really important that you listen to your gut, and if something is telling you to steer clear of a job, I would say definitely listen to your instinct, because if you feel bad at the start of a project, by the time you get to the end of it, you're going to feel so much worse. I just think that, I don't know why this is, but it's sort of a universal truth, and I say this in the book, that the clients who quibble over cost, they're really demanding from the word go, and they expect unreasonable things. It's like those always end up being the absolute worst clients to work for. Don't know why that is.
Mm-hmm.
You're right though. It's always the ones that are like, oh, is there any chance? We've got zero budget and it needs to be turned around even faster. Could you possibly? And you sort of go, why is it? Why am I not trusting my instincts? Why haven't I just said no? And I think for me, naturally, part of it is being a people pleaser, not wanting to let people down and thinking, yeah, I can do that. And then at the end, you reach the end of the process and you just think, as wearing my voiceover hat, I've now supplied you with several versions now of this badly written script, which is never going to fit in 30 seconds because you'd overwritten it in the first, you know, and it comes back to it bites you on the bottom.
It does, yeah.
There needs to be that strength, like you say. Those who quibble right at the beginning are those that are the ones that bite you on the bottom. Yeah,
so true, so true.
One of the things I particularly liked in this book, and I wouldn't usually pick up on this in a book, is actually the way that it's laid out. You start it with, I really do, it's very, very reader friendly, and I think that's why I read it so quickly. You start with Mythbusters. So that's, instead of having just chapters, so we've got Mythbusters. Myth 1, I like my own company, I don't need anyone else. Myth 2, I have to do it all, sales, marketing, admin, accounts. So, and under each myth, you then break that down from myth, reality, and advice, which is a really lovely way of getting into that. How did you pick your myths? Were these things that you came to mind to you instantly, or did you scour the market and suss out what are the top myths?
No, I have to be honest, everything in the book is just, it has to come from an authentic standpoint of being my own experience. It's the only thing you can do as a writer, I think, is to write from the heart. And I think that's the thing that you picked up on, Faye, when you read the book, that you said it felt like you were having a chat with a friend. I think that's because it is just, it's me. It's the only way I know how to write for myself. And people have really picked up on that and saying how personal it is and how friendly. But yeah, I have to say that most of the myths were the same in the blog post. I think I lost a couple and I think I switched a couple out because I realized that they didn't necessarily fit into the same format quite so comfortably. So I was adjusting things along the way. I didn't write the myths in any sort of logical order. So the myths, like 1 to 8, are not in the way I wrote them in the process. But they're just the things I think people have as misconceptions. They're certainly the things that I thought about freelance life when I first went freelance, which given it was over 20 years ago, there was obviously so much less information out there and so much less, I don't think there was any support, if I'm honest. I don't think there were any books specifically about freelancing. There were certainly no groups like you set up with Freelance Mum. There were no Facebook groups, no Twitter chats, nothing. So I guess I just want you to address the things that I think people commonly come to me and say, well, how do you deal with this? And they tie it in with the things that I very much felt when I was first starting out.
I've been noting down questions as we go, but my top two right now are, number one, how have you got used to confidently telling someone what the fee is? So you can do it without wriggling in your chair or having to on that and then going and talking to your partner and saying, is that reasonable? How have you got, 20 years on, how have you got comfy with saying this is what it costs?
Yeah, it's that I think is one of the absolute hardest things, because there's this nagging self-doubt voice in the back of your mind. You don't want to overcharge because there's this kind of voice going, oh, who does she think she is? Like, what? Why does she think that she's worth this much? Like, what makes her so special? There's that kind of doubt. But then you also don't want to undercharge because there's the risk that the client might think, you don't value, they might realise you don't value yourself. They might think, oh, well, she can't be that good, can she, if that's all she charges? So you're aiming for that sweet spot. And that's a really difficult thing to gauge. I read something recently that said just pick a number. And I thought, well, that's interesting. It is quite an interesting approach, because if you kind of play with the number and you think, okay, I can confidently say this number, oh, genius. I don't switch that off unless I crawl into my chair and unplug it. I can do that if you'd like me to.
No, you're fine. Carry on. Pick a number. I like that.
Throw that on the floor. It doesn't make any difference. Yeah, I think I'll call you back as soon as I can.
Someone of a long message. You're going to get to listen to it.
Genius. No, it'll just now my answer phone will talk to me. And my landline rings once in a blue moon, literally. Okay, we're good. I think a lot of it comes with the instinct. And I've always been a bit of a detractor from day rates, not a fan of day rates at all, because ultimately, without context, a day rate is kind of meaningless. If a client is doing some research online and they find 3 freelancers who do, you provide the service that they're after, and they email those 3 freelancers and say, what's your day rate? And each of them goes back with a different day rate, the chances of them going for the lowest, or at least the middle one, are pretty high. But you can't blame clients for working in that way because they don't know any better. So it can be helpful to go back with some ideas and some kind of justification for why that's not the way you work. If you work charging a fee basis, there are a lot of bonuses to the client for doing that, because they know upfront what the cost is going to be to get the job completed. Whereas if you're saying, oh, well, my rate is £400 a day or £200 a day or whatever it is, you're saying, okay, you're hooking them in on a lower rate, but they don't know how long you're going to take to do the work. And ultimately, the more expensive of the 3 freelancers might take 1/3 of the amount of time to do twice as good a job. So that's why I would say avoid using a day rate or an hourly rate if you can. And yeah, I have said in the book, actually, Laura, that I think something that's worth doing is, it sounds daft, but role-playing those conversations with your partner, or I've done it with my grown-up kids in the past. I've said, well, does this seem about right? Try to think about the value of the service that you're providing and the end result of the work that you're delivering. And kind of take it from there. But there is a full chapter about charging in the book.
Oh, it's interesting. Obviously, you've written this book and it's been published, and now we are in a COVID world where everything has changed and is now trying to put it into the new normal, whatever that might be. what this? I'm guessing this was written pre-COVID.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. What advice have you got to freelancers now who are probably feeling more vulnerable than ever, really vying for their space, really feeling a little bit nervous, for keeping going? What advice have you got there?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? And I think there are also a lot of people who find themselves in this position for the first time. There are also people who are considering going freelance because they've perhaps been put on furlough, and then they're realizing that once the furlough scheme's being pulled, they're in a position where they don't have a job and maybe freelancing feels like their only option. I would say, yeah, certain fields particularly do feel can feel very crowded, but I think it's important to kind of believe in abundance and remember that even if you're new to freelance life, you're not necessarily new to the skills and the traits and the qualities that you offer. You might be really experienced, say you were a graphic designer. You might have been doing that as an employee for 10 years. You might be new to freelancing. So lean on other experienced freelancers who have had the experience, and through things like this, podcasting, reading blogs, reading books, there's tons of information out there that you can use to realize that actually you are okay, you're doing all right, you've got this. And yeah, just don't keep the faith, as it were, believe in yourself. Try, if you're having a moment of kind of wobbling and thinking, oh God, everybody else seems to be doing this better than I am, stay off social media for a few days, because it can feel a bit toxic if you're having a wobble, or I think that comparisonitis is just quite dangerous if you're having a low few days, or you're feeling like you're struggling. And just remember to celebrate the little wins. So even if you have tiny achievements, tick them off, not just mentally, but perhaps do one thing that I do with my partner. I don't live with my partner, but when he's here, we always do our 3 good things and our 3 wins at the end of the day. So I'll say, I won a new piece of business from a new client, or I had a great Zoom call with somebody who could be a really great collaboration, or whatever it is. We posted something on Instagram and it got a really good engagement. Whatever it is, remember to think about and acknowledge and celebrate those wins. I think that's probably a lot of different information crammed into one answer, but hopefully it covers off what you are hoping for.
Yeah, I think it does. And, we do that too. I've been training my partner in sharing our good things from the day. So, yeah, there's so much to be said for that. And I think I would just add, remembering that you are you. It sounds cheesy, but there isn't anyone else. In lots of the services that we offer, they're quite personalised, aren't they? We are our own. And I think, there's no one else who's you, Sarah, or you, Faye, One question I wonder, I know you may have touched on this with what you do on a Friday, so perhaps there's something else you would add if that's your answer, but what's the best investment you've made in your business?
Oh, the best investment. Oh, so much.
Fire them at us, that's okay.
Wow.
I'm just thinking, when sometimes when it feels like you're not flourishing or thriving as you'd hope, actually to make an investment is a good move. So where's good to stick your money? Where's worked for you?
Yeah, well, I would definitely say invest in getting help. So the things that you don't enjoy doing, you're not good at, and they're not your, I don't like this expression, they're not your profitable activity. They're not the thing that you went freelance to do more of because you love it and it drives you. They're not the thing that makes you money. So for example, it might be for you, it might be admin, kind of routine admin tasks, hire a VA. It might be, computer related things. I'm completely Mac based, but I pay an IT support company a retainer. It's a poxy amount of money each month. It's something like £28. But for that, I can phone them or email them anytime anything goes wrong with my computer. And honestly, the amount of headaches it saves, it's worth every penny. And also for me, hire an accountant. Oh, how many of us just cringe with the amount of time we have to spend just filing your accounts, especially if you're limited company or VAT registered. I mean, not many freelancers are, but just the amount of time and the amount of headache, it used to stress me out there's no end, just thinking, oh, you know, I've got the date is looming, I need to file my self-assessment or whatever. That's so much worth the money, because not only is it taking that task off your shoulders, freeing up not just the time but the headspace that you need to do it yourself, but also if you pay a good accountant, they should advise you on the things that you can perhaps offset as allowable expenses and things like this, and they should be invested in the success of your freelance business. So hopefully they'll give you tips and things that will actually easily pay for how much it costs to hire them in the first place. So yeah, I would say hire support for that kind of thing. Definitely invest in a decent website in terms of design and copy, and tech. Your tech is really important. So you can't, in most cases, we can't do our jobs without our technology. So it is worth investing a little bit more. I know Mac stuff's ridiculously expensive, but it does enable me to work really quickly and smoothly and seamlessly most of the time. So yeah, those would be kind of my off the top of your head answers.
It's a great question, Laura. I couldn't be I'm not sure how I'd answer it myself, actually. How would you answer it, Laura?
Well, I'm just trying to think about it at the moment, thinking, right, what do I do with the little pot that I've got? Do I pay for some continuing professional development? You know, is there something that I really want to do to help with specialising? Do I put it into a graphic designer to help with the design of website or a logo or some bit of the branding? Yeah, they're the two. And should I continue membership of professional organisations that I'm currently a part of? So, yeah, I'm looking at it at the moment, which I guess is why it's at the front of my mind. But it's always interesting to hear someone else's take on how you work out the value of what you spend your money on.
For sure.
Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
That's
lovely hearing from you. And Freelance Mum will be meeting again on Tuesday. We'll be joining again for our network, and one of our lovely Freelance Mum will be winning. It's fantastic here today. I feel like left out. Is this a competition? I might get someone to ring me.
Hang on.
Yeah. Yeah, please do. Someone will be winning a copy of this lovely book, Survival Skills for Freelancers. Sarah, thank you for taking the time to join us today. And I'm sure we will meet up face to face very soon.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I'm not far from you, so yes, let's do that.
Okay, take care then.
See you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There we are. That was the lovely Sarah Townsend and Laura Rawlings who joined us earlier this week. I do hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget, for everyone who comes to the Freelance Mum Network next Tuesday, you'll be in with a chance of winning a copy of Survival Skills for Freelancers. This is a brand new copy and not a well-thumbed copy that I've already read. We'll also be joined as well on Tuesday by, let me see if I can share that, Kate Wyatt. She's from Box Local and she's absolutely fabulous. She's our guest speaker and she'll be telling the story of Box Local, which is a really great company. It supports, as you would imagine, local businesses, charity, and it's really it's got lots of eco and sustainable values as well, which I know will be really well aligned to fellow freelance mums. So if you'd like to come and join us and check out Freelance Mum for free for 30 days, you can always do that as well. You're welcome to come and join us on the network. Do make sure you register a ticket so that we make sure that we stay within the government guidelines, and you can be part of the mothership and join all our coffee mornings for free for 30 days. Right, that is pretty much it from me. But before we leave you for another week, don't forget to stay in touch with us on all our social media platforms. But let's now play us out with another wonderful Freelance Mum anthem.
If you're jumping or grumping, we're here for you. There's sharing and caring, and yummy cake too. With Faye at the helm of the mothership, we're all on board for an awesome trip. If you're true to yourself and follow your dream, you'll change the world and break the old routine. Out of the rat race and into the sun, hear us roar, we are Freelance Mum. 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 We are Freelance Mum.
Mummy's my hero. We are beauty. Mummy shows me I can follow my dream. She's brave and clever, shines like a sun.
We're so proud to be a part of Freelance Mum.
I'm not sure I will ever be able to watch that without getting goose pimples. It's just so lovely. And thank you so much to fellow freelance mums for sending us the gorgeous photos of your gibbons and gubbins. It's always lovely to see some of the moments that you've been enjoying over summer and share them with you, as well as looking at your businesses. So don't forget, if you'd like to join us next week on the Netwalk, then please do check us out at freelancemum.co.uk, where you can join us there. And if you've enjoyed it and you want to take part in the Mothership, then come and join us on Facebook. But thank you very much for watching. It's been a real joy to share the stories and the podcast with you, and hope to see you again very soon. Until then, bye.